You okay? All right, welcome to the Public Works and Protective Service Committee meeting. So are there any amendments or changes to the agenda? Oh, the pinks. Oh yeah, there's one over there which I left. Sorry. Great. Next. All right, so I kept motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the pink. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? All right, we'll move on to public participation. So anyone like to speak to this?
Before you do, if there are people that wish to speak about Flush Road and notes, I can recuse myself.
I would like to.
So I will recuse myself at this time as I may be in perceived conflict of interest, as this is in my neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So did everyone get?
That has nothing to do with where Councillor Donaldson lives. Fire risk to us on different levels. I'd like you to hear the comments.
Yep. So I need to leave.
Sorry, this is a proper procedure which we're following. So did everyone hear that Councillor Donaldson has a perceived conflict of interest in anyone speaking about Flesh Road. So if you could mention that when you're coming up, or if everyone wants to speak on Flesh Road, if they could do it first, and then we'll move on to something else. Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Tamara Ballard, Wooten Road. I am in favor of obviously the least costly option of pedestrians and cyclists. It can still be used as an egress if needed, just not for vehicle purposes. One thing I'd like to add to it though is for equestrians. I do think there should be railings for safety precautions for them. The report is good. Al Hurley did everything you guys asked him to do with respect to cost sharing and checking into that. The cost has gone up considerably since last year, and it's only going up daily, really. So given that there is no cost sharing from CRD or Fortis, $332,000 to an estimate to repair it that's a lot of money for what it is. $379,000 to deactivate it is ridiculous. That's not even an option, I don't think. So I am in support of pedestrian cyclist with extra money for equestrians. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak about the Flush Road Bridge?
Good evening. My name's Penny Rasher. I'm on Ferncliff Place, and I'd like to speak once again on the Flush Road Bridge. What I found tonight, though, was quite ironic. Almost every speaker mentioned something that is so important to our health and safety and future, and protecting and liabilities, fire, wildfire, environmental, everything that this Flush Road Bridge has given us for the security of egressing in a fire. Wildfires, the first person they talked about catastrophic damage. I hadn't had that, so I've got more notes in red from tonight's speakers throughout many of the different levels that all congress together and make it so. I want to make sure 19 homes on Ferncliff, when there is an issue coming over that hill on Mount Machosen during a wind, and we get winds, we don't just get ordinary winds, we get extreme winds, we have extreme heat domes. That, if that fire got started again, which it has at the golf course, no wind that day. That wind comes over. We actually have a resident who had a fire on High Mount. The fire trucks completely blocked off our street. Walking, that would be lovely if I wasn't the most healthiest person living on my property, the oldest being 80, two very disabled, are not walking. Definitely going to have to use a car. I'm willing to sacrifice the motorhome to the fire, the gods of fire, keeping it insured, not just for travel every single day. But the biggest thing I want to mention, which was brought up, was that liability and risk of Weirs Beach. We dismantled that bridge that's been there over 100 years, used by multiple residents, one who has recused herself, I think fairly, but not so fairly when it comes to fire risk from the, I want her to hear as my council person how terrified we are of every summer. Got a roofer coming next week to put those fire sprinklers that the fire chief sold us permanently on my roof. That's how much we are so scared of those fires coming. But when you see your roadblock, not once over the last few years, but twice, no car is getting out past my driveway where those two fires were. There was, I think I mentioned before, and I've written another letter, I believe you have it on file. Colwood, Machosen, I think Soup, but I can't be positive. Langford fire trucks sitting in front of my house. And I'm saying to Gary, make sure they move that truck so at least we can go left. We weren't going right, but we could have gone left out my driveway. And we definitely weren't getting out High Mount when they were all blocked down there. People couldn't go to work. We're not saying that bridge has to be built so it can take the fire trucks anymore. Chief Dunlop does not want to utilize that for fire trucks. But if she thinks we're going to get down to the end there, turn a right on Galloping Goose and go another kilometer, that's not going to happen. I've got letters here. Somebody happened to mention that there's nothing in writing that says it has to connect to the Galloping Goose or to the Flesh Road. But I'm reading here from a memo 1995 that $3,000 to cover the costs associated with the emergency access road across the Galloping Goose Road, not to it, across it, which means it's going across it. It's a very legal term, was paid. The other 1994, prior to that, it said that the proposed emergency access road be gated, which it was, at the Galloping Goose Regional Trail coordinate, or where it intersects, and at the access off Flesh Road. So obviously there was this connection. It was always in there. I understand that not, and I'm repeating myself a few times over the last few times I've spoken on it, not everyone has two doors to get out of a house. But when you have two doors, you don't close one because your neighbor doesn't have the second door. We're really at risk in this Machosen for fire. And you want to talk about liability and risk if you take out or leave stairs or build stairs. Take out a bridge that has been known in a time of need and exponential risk of fire. I'm just asking, we can't focus on going backwards. The BC government is looking at us to be safe, stay safe, do things for our community, fire testing our home, all the things that we've done. And the number one thing I want to close with is, I don't think the neighbors have heard from any the council. I think I'm the only one in Mr. Donaldson that are talking to neighbors, but shouldn't we ask council people to come up and talk to us, at least give us a letter telling us what your plan is? I'm begging you not to make a decision tonight because we've got so many things in the fire. Bad term, sorry. Somebody mentioned buying it for $1. I brought $1. I'm making an offer. I'm not saying I want it, but I want to delay it long enough for that. It was a valid offer. It was from Mayor Rance. Why don't you just buy it for $1? Well, I brought my buck. See, I know that's not going to ever happen, but we need more time to recognize that there's 19 homes on Ferncliff that can use that egress, and actually gives me comfort knowing the Firehall won't use it. They're coming in off a high mount and creating whatever way they have to get in. We know we don't have to try and fight them on that tiny narrow bridge that was built over Bilson Creek. And of course, you know what the gas and water lines going underneath that creek, that cost you can exponentially increase by double if you think that's going to be an option. I don't think it's an option. I think the gas and water lines are safe where they are. We are actually given a $30,000 cost because part of our backyard fell off. It was just a playground area. And the fact is, it turned out the builder put the rocks on top of logs. Well, $900 later for the excavator to scoop up the logs and remove them. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to have to stay wrapped up.
Wrapped up.
Thank you.
We'll hope to see you, or at least hear from you, coming around and talking to all the neighbors and letting us know. So that's my wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor, I just want to note that we're approaching 10 o'clock. So.
Right, I guess we, okay, well.
I trimmed it down. You all know who I am. My name is Brent Donaldson. I have UVU Farm, Challister Court, and Flesh Road. I'll be brief. History is important. I've lived on that property for 35 years. The district hasn't spent any money on Flesh Road or the bridge until 2009. There was a motion at council and approval was made, and up to $10,000 was set aside to improve the east abutment wall, and that was completed. Fast forward to November 29, 2021, and there was a letter to Joe Martinego from Herald Engineering saying that there was a budget in the council budget of $40,000 and there was enough money in that account to do the necessary repairs. So that was November 29, 2021. February 19th, 2022, in a Zoom meeting, in a council meeting, we were in COVID, Mr. Martinego noted that figure would likely be $100,000. December 8th, 2022, the contract engineer had a report, and the cost, I'm talking about rebuilding the bridge, maintaining it for access, that figure was $240,000. November 27th, which is today, that figure has gone to $332,000. Just a quick note, it seems like there isn't really a basis for these increases. And I haven't seen any sort of paperwork on a company coming in and giving an assessment. So, an example, on the pedestrian handrail topic that's in the report of last year, there was a note that handrails to make the bridge accessible and compliant, that figure was $44,000. Fast forward to 2023, that's $60,000. I made a call to a local contractor who does work for the district, and the last project they did was across from Lomax, and there was some work done there. You'll see the handrails. His quote was $14,500 installed with drawings. So there seems to be a huge discrepancy here on the estimates, and I think that's scaring council, it's scaring the taxpayers, and me included. So it's certainly nice to know where we're at with these quotes. I respect Mr. Hurl's abilities, but why have they gone up drastically? I do understand a 2x4 is worth more today than it was last year. The pedestrian approach, we've been playing that game since 2006. These reports have come across somebody's desk in this office that the bridge is failing. So to just have it for pedestrian use only, putting some handrails on it and monitoring it every 2 years, that bridge is not going to heal itself. It's just not going to. So now 2 or 3, 4 years down the road, then we're into number 3 when we're taking the bridge out. So if it's $300,000 or $400,000 now, what's it going to be in 4 or 5 years? I'm a taxpayer too. Just to sum up, my neighbor here noted the fact that there was a comment in the report with regard to conductivity of the easement to Flesh Road. Part of the easement is on my property, and my property is on Flesh Road, and 33 feet of that statutory right-of-way actually abuts Ferncliff Trail right-of-way. I do agree with Ms. Sherritt that I contacted 19 households. I have 33 signatures on a petition that I presented to council last year, and I certainly like to have them part of this conversation, both from a taxpayer's point of view and economics, but also as a safety, because when I met with those folks, most of them knew it was there, but I only found out that this report was coming forward in the afternoon on Friday. So in fairness to them, I think that the letter or some sort of a public information session should be put aside for those folks to have their input. It affects their neighborhood. So thank you for your time, and I hope, as Ms. Shearer said, let's just take a step back and have a look at the estimates and what the repercussions are moving forward hastily. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since it looks like we're going to be going past 10 o'clock, could I have a motion to do that? Okay, moved by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Schicken. All in favor? Thanks. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on Flesh Road? Okay, I guess we can go again. Councillor Donaldson back in here. Thanks. All right, we have the minutes of October 16th.
I'll move adoption.
All right, moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Right, and the minutes of the Firehall Steering Committee of October 3rd. Councillor Donaldson moves receipt. Councillor Schicken second. All in favor? Thanks. Okay.
I just wanted to ask, I would like to see the request for proposal once it's written. I guess that would be on the website, probably when it goes out for people's comments and things typically. The request for
sorry?
Oh, excuse me, page 9. Sorry. The Firehall feasibility study, there's a request for proposal will be prepared and be circulated, I guess, to the committee, but then it's from there, and council get a look at it too. And I'm just guessing it will be on the website? Okay, super, it'll be on the website, great, thanks.
All right.
Sorry, another question. Do committee members have a sense of when you're going to meet again? Is it after maybe you're considering responses to the RFP document, or any sense of when you're meeting?
So if I may, as we're going to be having a meeting with Mr. Porter, who had managed to connect with BC Housing for additional funding for the affordable housing piece to the RFP. So that's,
Gotcha.
we have the RFP almost ready to go, but then housing piece came to play.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That
once
makes
we have
sense.
that meeting, then we'll know more, because we're hoping to get the whole study funded.
Yeah.
And we should be able to find out pretty soon if that's a possibility or not.
Thank you.
Okay, well, now we're on to our reports, and we're doing Flesh Road.
So
See you in a
I
bit.
recuse myself due to a perceived conflict of interest in my neighborhood.
Right, so this is an update by our engineer, Al Hurley, as of this week, or last week. And possibly, Mr. Nowski, do you want to speak to this?
So thank you, Councillor. So the reason this report is back in front of the committee again is just to provide cost update. As there was no resolution from almost a year ago that it was in front of the committee, it's just to bring back the cost update, and also so a couple of requests that was made at that time to explore the opportunities for cost sharing. So that's noted in the report that both those agencies who have stake in the bridge, that being Fortis and CRD, both are not in favor of any cost sharing. Just a little bit to address the issue about the question about the initial cost. So that was done by an engineering firm. They were the ones that came up with the original cost for 2022, and of course that was adjusted for 2023 prices.
Thank you. So, yeah, as everybody can see, the Mr. Hurley's has added 10% escalation in building costs, which seems like that's across the board these days, and 25% contingency. So that brought up the if the repair and remediation total with those added percentages to 332,000. Total deactivation would be 369,000, and pedestrian and cyclist use would be 60,000. And he did mention how he did contact Fortis and CRD Water about them participating in any kind of costs on the bridge, and they declined. So his summary was that, which I just mentioned, costs have escalated by an estimated 10% the past year. CRD Water and Fortis BC are not willing to cost share on repairs to the bridge, and the bridge is not considered essential for emergency access. So, Council, what do we wish to do with this? Just don't we just receive it for information and bring it up again with more. Councillor Gray?
Well, we have identified $40,000 in our budget for the purposes of Flesh Road, but of course no decision was reached at that time. It seems to me that the cost now exceeds the $40,000 we have in the bank, and so I don't think we're able to move on this at the moment until we're a little bit further. I know we're getting to the end of our fiscal year, but we don't have enough information, I don't think, at the moment from our budget meeting the other day and what was spoken to authorize spending $60,000 at this point. But perhaps this could come back at the earliest opportunity when we know the dollar values, and that would be dollars that might be available from this year. In addition, that would tie nicely with our budget, capital costs, that sort of thing, to look at whether or not we'd make a different decision than the 40,000. So I'm just talking as a practical matter. We've got 40. We would need, it looks like 60 at least available, but maybe not spent. So I would suggest that we bring it back at our earliest opportunity once those other numbers are in play. And I guess I'm not speaking to the question of which avenue we would approach, but at least if we had the money for the pedestrian and cyclist use, or pedestrian, cyclist, and equestrian use, we could have a more full discussion then. That's what I'm thinking about.
There is one figure that I do think is missing, and that is something that Mr. Donaldson brought up, and that is the fact that if it is strictly pedestrian and cyclist and equestrian use, that there is going to be a cost. I mean, that, like I think I brought this up last time, but we didn't really get to that point about how much it really would cost to remediate the bridge enough so that it's safe and not rotting into the creek in the future, even if it's not used for vehicles. And there definitely would be a, probably a significant amount added to that. So I'm not sure, whether we just ask for, Councillor Schicken? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Option 3, that's the estimate for that. Just pedestrian only bridge.
Yeah, but the bridge is deteriorating.
Right.
So how does that work, in the future?
So are you referring to the future for me to replace the bridge? So that 40,000 is to I'll call it upgrade the structure so that it is able to be used by pedestrians and other non-vehicular.
Oh, I see. So it is fixed, like to a point anyway. Okay.
So, Councillor, I'm in agreement with Councillor Gray that I think we have to figure out what funding we have available, and now is not really the time to do that. So I'd be happy to make a motion of receipt. The one thing, I have to go back in the report and see what the 60,000 actually gives us. But the one thing to know is that there will be a reckoning one day with this bridge if it's not adequately repaired. And it is our asset, it is the district's asset. So at some point, there's going to need to be action on this. And I see the pattern, of course, is that this just keeps getting pushed down the road. So I don't think we're in a position to deal with it today, ironically, as I say that, but we should have a look in the future, and probably when we know where funds available are. So I make a motion to receive.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? So moved by Councillor Schuken to receive information, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? That's unanimous. Sorry, I should ask for discussion.
We've been told that the major risk to Machosen is fire. Climate change, the major risk to us is fire. And I think it would be negligent of us to decommission or to limit access of that bridge. The fact remains is that nothing has been done on this bridge, even though it was included in all the summaries that it should have been repaired for year to year to year. Councillor Schuken is right, this has just been kicked down the pathway for another council to deal with, and now we're dealing with it. That bridge will fail, and it will be an environmental disaster in the Bilston Creek that we so love and want to protect. So I'm in favor of repairing that. We actually don't need to do it all at once. We could there's 4 abutments that need replacing. We could do 1 a year, or 2 1 year, and then 2 or 1 another year, and then another year. So that would offset the costs going down the line. We are going to have to reckon with it, whether we just do some maintenance of it, it's going to fall into the creek, and that would be negligent of us to just let it do so. This is an asset. This is an asset, and across Canada, there's no other municipality that is closing bridges, which is a major asset to their community, especially given fire, the risk of fire. And so I'm in favor of repairing it to the standard that it allows trucks to go across. If we're talking about it's a major risk to pedestrians because of the rails, well, Winterbridge is exactly the same thing. So if we're saying that Flesh Road Bridge is a risk to pedestrians and cyclists and equestrians, so is Winterbridge. So we'll need to address that as well. So I would be in favor of this coming back at a future with some more information, but also with 2 to 3 weeks lead, that we know when this is going to be on the Public Works agenda, where we can notify the residents of that area and have a conversation here about it and what we're up against. I also question the cost, because when we first started discussing this, I think it was in 2021, the costs were $40,000 or $45,000, $15,000 for each abutment rather. And so now this is ballooned to $240,000. Even with the 10 and the 25% increase, that doesn't equal $240,000. So this I think some of these costs are meant to scare us, and they're a bit fear-mongering. I'd like to get some good estimates on this. And as I mentioned, I'm not in favor of just pedestrians or cyclists or for total deactivation. I'm in favor of repair and remediation, and that would be in the best interest of that area and that and the creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I actually think it's an awful lot of money to repair it for vehicle egress, because it still is a route, an escape route, while not with a vehicle on foot. I think many of us in Metchosin live in areas where we only have one route out, and I think to have two is pretty good, even if you can drive to that point and then walk across. And to repair the whole thing, that takes a lot of consideration. But I do agree with you as far as the bridge deteriorating. So, and that's my concern, is that just to have it propped up well enough for pedestrians and cyclists and possibly equestrians is a bit questionable. I think I'd like to have more details on how long the bridge would be expected to last with that type of repair. Councillor Gray?
Yeah, just to say what I'm arguing for tonight, or arguing, I guess we passed the motion, is that we need to consider this in our time of our budget.
Right.
Even the idea of the mayor of a multi-year thing, that's a budget discussion. And I appreciate the update we got tonight, because it sets us up very nicely to have that discussion. The question of multi-year, I have no idea if that's feasible from a bridge builder perspective. I'll point out that on page 21, you have a cost estimates provided by an independent engineering firm of 2022. And then if we look at the note from our engineer in December 2022, simply he added the water line and gas line costs, which I believe were confirmed with Fortis and the CRD Water. So these numbers are not way out, but they include contingencies and other things. Well, they could be way out. There's just one person making an estimate here. But my point is there is some documentation of those numbers. I'm happy with the advice of the fire department, frankly. I think they've had the fire chief look at things, say, look, we're okay if the bridge is removed. My question more goes to the one that Mayor Little's raised, which is that if we just leave this, Councillor Shubin, excuse me, this is going to fall into the creek at some point. So doing the 60 grand repair is one thing, but I think during the budget discussions, it would be wise for us to talk about, do we have the dollars here to do this now? Is a multi-year approach appropriate? We could perhaps find out through our staff just what the possibilities are of staging this, so that we're ready for the discussion rather than mentioning it tonight and not finding out about it later. So if council, we could do that by consensus and just ask if we could have the staff check into that question, so we're not wrestling with that another night and not knowing what to do.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
So I make a motion that we ask staff whether or not it's feasible to make this a multi-year project in order to deal with these costs in a more gentle manner.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Mayor Little. Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Mayor Little. All in favor?
I just had one other point then about notifying residents. I'm totally happy with that. I think that we've been, probably moving on pretty quickly on a bunch of different things, but I reflect on the buffered land working group, which we didn't have a date set, that we get an advertisement in the news, vision for the school, similar, there might be something else. I think it would be really good for us to think as much as we can ahead a little bit about when these meetings are, so we can notify the entire community. While I appreciate the people from Ferncliff coming, I think an expenditure of potentially, if we repair and remediate, $332,000, that's probably worth the whole community knowing about it, because they're the ones who are going to pay for it. So I think if we timed it and set it up well, that would be terrific. Enough time to get it out to the public to know about it, including, and especially including, the local people.
Great, thank you. Any more discussion on this?
One question. Sorry, Councillor Gray, just to point of clarification about the residents paying for it. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
The taxpayers. My chosen will pay, so they should know we're having a discussion. It's not just Ferncliff.
Okay.
It's the whole community.
Yeah, no, that's clear. I thought you had said something about the residents of Ferncliff paying for the bridge. I misunderstood what you were saying.
No, I'm thinking they're roughly 14 families, but we have 19 homes. We've got 5,000 residents in Machosa who will likely be covering the costs.
Yeah, no, point understood. I misheard, so thank you.
All right, then move on to my councillor's update. Oh yeah, okay, sorry. Sweet, we're all here.
I've discussed the time, and I recognize that discussing it doesn't mean it happens unless there's a motion. I think on this one I'm not going to make a motion, but I would like it to be timed such that we have the community notified.
All right, so in Public Works, Gabe Bergen is the newest member of the Public Works crew. He replaces Nick Wells, who took a full-time position as a firefighter. The crew has been working to replace worn-out warning signs on the roads. They've got new fancy-dancy signs up there in a lot of places. And in the shop are new dog waste signs and poop bag receptacles. So make the Dogs and Machosa working group happy about that one, and a lot of others. So hopefully they'll work out well when they get them set up. They're destined for Taylor Beach and the Sandgate Road area right now.
They're already up.
Are they already up? Oh, well, see, there you go. Well, that's good. I hope that works out.
And in use.
Good. That's a start. Otherwise, they're busy with their usual winter work. They've been out salting at some and cleaning and maintenance around the school. One really frustrating and time-consuming job is that they have recently had to remove graffiti from the walls of school. So that's too bad, but I guess it's a sign of the times. Moving on to the Machosa Seniors Association, the MCA is welcoming Shannon Carman as the new manager of the Resource Center. She's on, right now, she would commit to 4 months, so she's there for now. It's been quite difficult for them to find somebody. Apparently most other organizations like this pay a lot more than we do in Machosa. So anyway, and they're having a fundraiser. They're holding a Christmas lights tour. Participants will see the sites riding around in a 30-passenger tour bus donated and driven by LA Limo. The tour is on Monday, December 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. Tickets are $30 for adults, $20 for seniors and ages 12 to 18, and $5 for children. You can get them at the Makers Market at the school on December 9th and 10th, or from the Resource Center, which is open Tuesday through Friday from noon to 4. We had a meeting of the Sierra the Arts Commission. The intake for spring project grants is open, so these are ones that need to be sponsored by an arts organization, but they do cover a lot of things for events, arts events. Information is on the Sierra the Arts website. The commission is continuing to encourage Colin Langford to join the commission. Right now there's kind of a big gap in the whole thing. There's, I can't remember just how many members there are, but most of the rest of the municipalities do belong. Langford is close to developing their first ever strategic arts and culture plan, and it's hoped that that'll lead to membership in the group. We also have the Capital Region Emergency Service Telecommunication, which is CREST. They've completed work on getting coverage for radios to Port Renfrew. The process took longer given the supply chain issues. They're also looking to expand their network to areas outside the CRT, such as up in Cowichan. And recently they've equipped many of the radios with 65 channels, which allows firefighters from here and other places when they're working on the wildfires and around the province, this can automatically connect to other firefighters that are working in those areas, which is sure a good safety thing. So that's good news. We had the inaugural meeting of the West Shore Arts Centre Intermunicipal Committee, and it had representatives from Calder, Langford, View Royal, Highlands, Metchosin, and the One Topeka Performing Arts Centre Society, which is the group that got all this going and has been working for many years trying to get some type of a facility, theater, and with all other options for different arts, and in the West Shore area. So we discussed the terms of reference as well as topics such as the facility itself, what it would involve, the funding, operation, and partnerships. So it was a really good meeting, a lot of enthusiastic people. On the agenda for the summer meeting is a discussion on completed feasibility and accessibility studies that the One Topeka Performing Arts Centre Society had already commissioned. And that is it for my update, and I guess we're just left with a motion to adjourn. We do have a pink, sorry, from Linda. I don't know her last name, but we will receive that correspondence. So move to adjourn by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Right. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a good rest of your night that's left of it.